Hello, everybody. I'm glad to be back from my vacation. Had some great family time, very needed decompressing time. And if you know me, I'm very glad I got that word right because sometimes I use decomposing, which is absolutely not correct. But that's a story in itself. So I am Julie Drake with Shine with Julie, and today I am so excited to have Michelle Bohm with me. And Michelle and I met at a great networking organization here in Peoria, really geared towards making sure that you are supported in achieving your goals, whatever those are. And Michelle is an entrepreneur. She loves helping women find their own spark of inspiration. I know she's helped me find that on occasion. She believes that people are inspired, they come alive, and they go on to become great leaders of their own in business, family, and community through the help that she provides. And she's a new entrepreneur, newish. 2017, she launched Inspired Salon and Boutique in Pekin, Illinois. And she has since added a special mission. And I think you said to me, COVID helped you do this a little sooner than expected. So you'll have to tell us some. I'm not going to tell the details on that one. But when she's not running her business, she's a wife and a mom to two boys and has a very full, active family life. So welcome, Michelle. We're so excited to have you here. And
Thank you
aside from
me.
a little bit, I'd love you to tell our audience a little bit about you and what brought you to the space of entrepreneurship. We'd love to hear that story.
Yeah, well, like you said, I kind of came to entrepreneurship actually starting the business a little bit later in life. I officially hit middle age this year, so I that's kind of a
Welcome.
new thing. I like that. I think I know what people are talking about. Like turning 40 is pretty awesome. So I'm happy about that. But I feel like I was always an entrepreneur. I just didn't quite know that I was.
Yeah.
I was the very serious child. Like I played business with carried a little briefcase around that my mom had gotten, and I
Oh
thought it
my
was like
gosh,
the
love it.
coolest toy in the world. And I would dream of working on Wall Street and carrying that briefcase and wearing a suit to work. Like I thought that
Oh, wow.
was the
That
life.
was your dream
Yes,
job
that was
at
my
the
dream
time.
job. So I knew I liked playing business, and I went to college because that's what you do. And I
Right.
studied serious business stuff like finance and accounting and all of that kind of stuff. So I was really more of that analytical,
Yeah.
logical, naturally type person. But when I got to college, I mean, I guess growing up in a Midwestern town, you're not really exposed to a lot of different things. But when I got to college, my eyes were like saucers. Like it was the first time that we were talking about creative ideas and what you
Mhm.
could do with them and, seeing the world from a different perspective. That was my first
Interesting.
real exposure to that, I guess,
Hmm.
to
Sure.
like realizing that I had an opportunity that I could use a business to solve a problem, not just work in
Right.
somebody else's business.
Yeah.
I don't know why it had never occurred to me when I was a child playing that game that I could
Hmm.
actually use it as a form of creativity. So I
Right.
got super excited about that idea. But after college, I went and worked in a bank because that's what you do with a degree in finance is you work in banking.
You
um,
followed all those paths that you should do. I hear a lot of
yes,
should. Keep
shoulds.
going.
I was checking
Hmm.
everything off that list,
Yep.
right?
I should do this.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I just happened into a wonderful bank with a wonderful mentor that saw in me how I liked working with people and how I liked
Mhm.
solving problems and how I could be. They don't like to use the word creative in banking because that's usually fraud. But
Right.
how I could,
Creative banking.
right?
Nice.
Banking, they don't like creative
Right.
people that much. But
Yeah.
she could
I get
see
that.
that in me and she developed that in me and put me in a position where those skills would really shine. So
Hmm.
I started doing community lending where I could go out and help first time home buyers learn how to buy a house. And that just lit me up inside. I loved
Right.
that I was helping these people solve their problems.
Hmm.
I loved that I could actually change a community because I was helping people in that community
Right.
create wealth, create,
Hmm.
I was helping with financial literacy and all of those kinds of things. So I got that big
Yeah.
emotional payoff and I was like, oh, this is what business is supposed to
Mhm.
be. Um, but then then I had my kids, and I I learned that working for somebody else wasn't going to work for me. You
Yeah.
know, especially bankers hours. That wasn't the kind of life I wanted. I wanted more of that work life integration
Mhm.
where I could have my business, go, run the kids to softball practice, and then come back and work a couple hours in the evening. I
Yeah.
liked that, and that worked for me. So I stayed home with the kids and started in a direct sales business,
Mhm.
selling handbags. I went from banking to handbags. I don't know. It
Oh
just
my
made sense to me at the time.
goodness.
But it was always something like, I'll do this until I get back to my day
Mhm.
job. And
Right.
then turns out I fell in love with that too, because now I got to develop teams of people that
Right.
could help other people.
Yeah.
And it became a real mission and a real life's purpose to figure out, how can I build these women on my team into someone that could build a business that could help
Mhm.
other women.
Right.
Um, and again, I loved my job. It was the greatest thing I'd ever done in
Mhm.
my life.
Right.
And then abruptly that business closed.
Mhm.
So we went from, having this amazing team to all of a sudden it was gone. And that was the moment I realized I want something that nobody else can take away from me, because I did
Right.
not choose to let that business
Mhm.
close. That was not my
Right.
choice. And I did not like that.
Yep.
So I didn't know what I was going to do after that, but I knew I wanted to help people. I knew I wanted to solve
Mhm.
big problems. I knew I wanted to build women. And I just
Mhm.
waited for the opportunity to land in my lap. And
And
it took
here it
almost a
was.
year. Yeah, it took almost a year. But as soon as I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. And
Right.
I took action on it. So that's how I ended up owning a salon. And
And it's quite
becoming
a
that
ways away
reluctant.
from your, yeah. So one of the things that I actually didn't know until I got your information was the distance between your home and your salon, because I
Yeah,
thought they were pretty close, but they're not.
no, no. So I
Okay.
did not plan on owning a salon. In fact,
Mhm.
when I signed the lease, I had maybe been in a salon 10 times in my life. Like, I
Oh
only
my
went when I
gosh.
was forced, because it wasn't something I enjoyed. I didn't own a flat iron. I
Mhm.
don't know how to do makeup. Like, it just didn't
Right.
make sense that I would own this salon. So I happened upon it because I was helping a friend that owned a
Mhm.
salon. And it happened to be in Pekin, and we were just looking, and I came with her, and the hair on the back of my neck stood up when I walked in the door,
Mm.
and something said, "This is where you're supposed to be." So that's in
That's so
Pekin.
cool.
I live a half hour away, and in the time that it took for me to drive from here to home, I decided I was going to own a salon.
Hmm.
And when I told my husband about it, he's like, "What? Why? I don't. Why can't we own the one across the street that's vacant? Like, there's a salon on every
Right.
corner." Why? And I said, "No, it has to be this one, because this is the one that spoke to me. This is where I'm supposed to be." So I didn't choose it. It chose me. It
Yeah.
crashed into me, and I just happened to say yes.
Now, talk to me about that, because you have to be in a receptive mindset even to have something like that happen and just know and be able to take that leap. So, how did you go from the person in college to the I should do this, I should do that with my career, to being so amazingly open, and so that you were ready at that moment? Was there something definite, or was it just a progression of things throughout that time that you think added to your openness to that opportunity at that moment?
I think it was a progression of things. So it was
Mm-hmm.
my own personal development.
Mm-hmm.
I got interested in personal development about the time I was starting the direct sales business, when I left banking, because then you are on your own and you have to kind of figure it out on your
Mm-hmm.
own. You don't have somebody telling you what to do. So I
Right.
knew I didn't have the skills to be able to see things, see opportunities on my own without
Mm-hmm.
developing that. So I started doing that. But the biggest, if I had to say, like, what was the turning point for me, when that direct sales business closed, I kept sitting with this idea. Like, I knew I was supposed to do something great, but I didn't know what
Mm-hmm.
it was. And I would talk with anybody that would listen to me about this idea that I didn't even know I had. It was just, I just kept saying, I have the pieces, I can't figure it out. I knew a bunch of entrepreneurs, so I would talk with them like, what does this
Mhm.
mean? Why am I getting these signs
Right.
that I'm supposed to be doing something with this? It doesn't make any sense. So I would talk
Yeah.
to anybody that would listen. And a friend recommended a book to me. She said, let me tell you what's happening to you right now. And you need to read this book. It was Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert.
Thank
I'm
you
sure
for saying. Okay,
I probably
repeat
have
that
told you
because
about
that
it.
I wanted to ask you because
Yeah.
you've taught on this book before.
Yes.
Big Magic by.
Elizabeth Gilbert.
Okay.
So she's
Yep.
the Eat, Pray, Love girl. Like
Okay.
yeah,
Yes.
that's her. If Julia
Okay.
Roberts plays you in a movie,
Yeah.
then you're a big
Yeah. Yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
So she's a big deal. And this was like a couple books after Eat, Pray, Love. But
Okay.
it's all based on this idea that ideas are a life force that are floating around in the world, and they land on people and they say, will you be my mother? Do you, you know, I
Hmm.
think you have what it takes to
Right.
give birth to me and make this idea a thing. Will you do it? And if you are
Interesting.
not open, that idea might land on you
It'll
and you'll
move
shoo it
on.
away. Yeah,
Okay.
you won't even acknowledge it. You'll be like, you're so stupid
Right.
idea, like leave.
Right.
Most people
Yeah.
even do that. And an idea is like its only job is to be born, so it's going to move
Right.
on to the next person. So
That's fascinating.
that book came into my life at a time where I was like getting all these
Mhm.
signs and all these ideas and all these things,
Yeah.
and it taught me all I have to do is breathe life to them, play with them a little bit, see what they
Hmm.
become. Just
Right.
just quit shooing it away and see what happens. And
Yeah.
so I happened to be at a moment in my life where I was able to see those signs when they landed on me.
That's awesome. That's awesome because, some people get so caught up in they want all the answers before they begin. And you are the epitome of I didn't
I
have
don't
any
know.
answers, but I got started anyway. And I love that. I
Yeah.
truly do, Michelle, because you were brave enough to say yes to something, to an unknown. And I often equate it, and I don't even know if you've seen this movie, but Raiders of the Lost Ark,
Yeah.
The Last Crusade, where it's the Sean Connery one. And, Harrison Ford's on this huge gorge ledge and he has to get to the other side. Oops, we lost Michelle. Hang on just a second. We're going to get her back. I was so talking about something fun. So anyway, I'm going to finish that little story and Michelle will pop back in. But anyway, so in this movie, Harrison Ford is on this ledge. He has to get to the other side, but he just come back in. Hang on just a second, guys. So anyway, he's on the ledge. He has to get to the other side. And what he does is, he doesn't see that there's a bridge. The bridge is not even covered, but he takes some sand and he like scoots it across and sees this little shimmer of an invisible bridge. But he has to step in order for the bridge to be completely visible. And, that's Michelle's back with us. Hey, hey. Love technology. So anyway, that is exactly what you did, Michelle. You took a leap of faith, a true leap of faith. And here we are, 2021, 4 years later, you're still going strong. So you've definitely had challenging times. I mean, we all know what happened with all the shutdowns and how salons especially were affected in the beginning. So talk to us about how you handled those challenging times and you're still going strong today.
Yeah. Well, I love what you say about taking the first step before you can even see the bridge.
Yeah.
And I think what people don't realize is that there's so many steps that you can take that aren't completely cashing out your 401k and investing it in hair
Right.
products. You don't need
Yeah.
to do that on day one. I worked for almost a year before I spent a dime on this
Mhm.
idea. You can research. There's so many excuses that people
Right.
make for not taking that step.
Mhm.
And because I've become the person that you share ideas with now, since my business is
Right.
name inspired, so people want to tell me their inspired ideas, but they
Mhm.
speak the idea and then the next sentence out of their mouth is why they can't do it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it becomes almost like I already know what you're going to tell me. You don't have enough money. You don't have enough time. It's the
Right.
same things that I didn't
Yeah.
have enough of, but there's
Hmm.
100 ways that you can work this problem from all
Hmm.
different angles before you even invest a dime. It might take
Right.
some time right now,
Yeah.
but you can do that. So
Yeah.
really it's more of a confidence in your ability to figure things
Hmm.
out than it
Right.
is a confidence, because I was
Yeah.
not confident in what, a salon would need. I
Right.
don't know. I never been in one.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what that was going to take, but I was confident that I would figure it out when it
Yeah.
came. And that
Yes.
confidence has only come from trial and error, from
Hmm.
failing miserably and then
Thank you. You made
saying,
mistakes, right? You're
yes,
still standing, but
oh
you
my
you made
gosh,
mistakes. Yeah.
I made
It's
stupid
okay.
mistakes. I made
Hmm.
expensive mistakes. I made mistakes
Hmm.
that cost me months of my life.
Hmm.
And then you
Yeah.
work and work and work on something and then it doesn't work out. And it's like, okay, well, that didn't work out.
Right.
So what did
Yeah.
I learn? We
Yeah.
don't suffer for no reason. So let me figure out why I screwed up and how I screwed up. And then I'll try it
Right.
again. It's
Dust
not the end
off,
of the
do it
world.
differently.
But afraid to suck publicly at something, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, how do you work? Because you are now a half hour from home, and you said that one of your initial goals was to be that
Yes.
mom. So, how does that work with your business now?
Well, I think at first I failed miserably at that as well. I was not I went through many years of feeling like I was never a good enough mom, never a good enough business person, like nothing I
Yeah.
did was ever enough. So I failed miserably at that for many, many years. And I would say even made myself very unhealthy through that
Hmm.
process of having unrealistic expectations
Yeah.
of what a human being could do. I mean, I know
Mm.
I have good skills, but there's only so much a human being can handle.
Right.
And I am not a machine. So
Hmm.
the
Yes.
turning point for me on that was first realizing that all of the people that I admire that had these huge successful businesses have help. Like, I don't know what I thought they were doing, that they're sitting there
Right.
making dinner and doing an Instagram video that looks like
Yeah.
professional quality at the same time. That's what I
Yeah.
thought they were doing. I don't know why. But
Because they are so good, they make you think that. And I
yes.
agree that mom guilt is awful. It's awful
Yeah.
because you think that anybody else that's out there doing it, again, perception is everything. And I heard something that you said, the stress got so overwhelming because you put so many expectations on you. These were
Yes.
self-imposed expectations.
Yes.
Um, that led to an unhealthy spot in your life because of the stress of having to be all things to all people at all times.
Yes.
So, how
Yes.
did that? Because I know that you're not that now. So,
Yeah.
what are some steps that you took to come into that more, like you said, that human world? What can I
Yeah.
do for me and my kids and my family and my husband? What are some things that you recognized, and how did you change that pattern?
Well, we had to make some real radical changes in our life, and I don't always recommend. I mean, we fly by the seat of our pants sometimes. Now we're embracing entrepreneurs in our family. It's like we don't know what's
Mhm.
going to happen tomorrow, and we're okay with it. But we weren't okay with
Right.
that 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So we had to make some radical changes in our home life first.
Mhm.
We actually made a big flip in our house. So my husband was always the breadwinner because I was the entrepreneur and could do whatever ideas I wanted, whether they made money or not,
Right.
because we had the stable paycheck. Well, we flipped that, and now he stays home with the children, and I work full
Okay.
time. And just that tiny little thing that, I mean, it's not a tiny thing. That was a huge
It was
life
huge.
shift.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
just the tiny thought of, well, what would it look like if we did that? Because before it had
Mhm.
never occurred to me as even a possibility.
Right.
And we started looking at every area of our life and how can we make this work? What will it take?
Mhm.
Just no emotion, no excuses.
Right.
What would it take? And my
Mhm.
husband loves being home with our
Oh,
kids.
good.
He's an amazing cook. Here's truth. I have not cooked a meal for my family in over 2 years.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I'm comparing before, when I was doing that, you don't realize
Mhm.
the weight that
Yeah,
carries until you're like, you don't have to do it anymore. So if my kid gets
right,
sick at school, I don't have to go get them.
right.
I have that help, where before I'm
Yeah,
trying to do it all.
yeah,
And so we just had to make some radical changes in our family. And if,
mhm,
another radical change is I had to learn how to say no to things that were not serving
mhm.
me.
Yeah.
And
And
that's
that's
hard
not
sometimes.
easy. That is so not easy. Yep.
Mm-mm.
And so I just want to quickly say that not everybody is, sorry, I have this hair in my face. Not everybody is in that position where they have, a husband that would be receptive to that,
Right.
or would be okay with that. So I want to share just a couple things with the audience here on ways that you can outsource
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have that person at home. Instacart is now my super friend, and it came about from the pandemic. I was like, yeah, I'll order groceries. I'd never thought about it before. But then I'm like, why am I making the list, spending the
Yep.
time in the store, bringing it home, packing? It's like, okay, I make my list anyway. So now I make my list online. They shop for me, they deliver it. Yeah, I still put it away, or the kids put it away. But that's a time saver
That's
that
like
I
four
think of as
hours a
business
week.
outsourcing. DoorDash,
Yep.
yes, it costs money, but again, if you need to free up time,
Mm-hmm.
there are so many different ways, even in a smaller community like we live in, that you can hire or outsource some of those things that you were doing full on.
Yep.
There's times I love to cook, there's times I don't. And I used to feel guilty about eating out. My family would be like clapping, let's eat out,
Yeah.
let's eat out more.
Yep.
But like you said, the mom guilt. I should be making dinners, or, for me, I should be. But there are ways to eat healthy on DoorDash, and then they bring the food to you, you put it on the table, and
Right.
you can keep doing what you do. You don't need to stress out that you are the only person that can do this, and work and take care of the family. And I love that you took that step back and, flipped the script.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, it sounds to me like throughout your entrepreneurial life, and it's been a relatively short time, so you've come a
Mm-hmm.
long way in a short time, but you've really gotten rid of a lot of those shoulds, and
Yeah.
you've made a different path. And, as a mom, I will say that that's one thing that I love about being an entrepreneur is showing my kids a different way.
Yeah.
Not that being an employee is bad. I want to clarify that too, because there are some people that are amazing employees, and that is
Yes.
their gift. That's what they're supposed to do. People like you and me, I'm totally unemployable.
Mm-hmm.
And
I am
nobody would want
unemployable.
to employ me at this point,
Yes.
for so many reasons. But, it's not that I'm just not made for that role. That's not where my purpose is. And that's not
Yeah.
where your purpose was. That's why you kept feeling those nudges. So, what would you say to that woman out there that is, maybe an employee, but she's supposed to be an entrepreneur? And, you said it, you have these conversations a lot. So, I can't wait to hear the advice that you give. Like maybe she knows there's something for her to do, but she doesn't even know what it is. What would you say to that person?
Well, I think the first step is just allowing yourself the time to dream about that. I
Mm-hmm.
don't care if it's, the 15 minutes that you have when you're running in the car, taking your kids from school to practice. Say,
Yeah.
like, that's my 15 minutes of dream time. Those kids are going to be quiet and let me, like,
Mhm.
on while
Yeah.
I'm sitting there
Or they
making
can dream with
practice.
you. They
They
can
can
dream
dream
with
with
you.
you. We can
Hey, what
talk
would
about
you?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you talk about it and you allow yourself
Mm-hmm.
those pockets of time to dream,
Mm-hmm.
and talk about it to anybody that will listen. Well,
Yeah.
wait, let me say that. Anybody that you trust that will listen,
Right.
because
Yeah.
not everybody gets the right to
Correct.
hear your most
People who
important
aren't going to
dreams.
squelch your dream before your dream even
Yes.
has a moment to breathe and gain life. Yes.
Right.
Agree.
So speak it to the right people, but speak about it.
Right.
Get yourself
Yeah.
in groups of people that are doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this costs nothing to
Right.
meet other entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs
Mm-hmm.
love meeting people. They
Yes.
love talking to people. They love hearing
Yeah.
about your ideas and sharing theirs. And you never know what you are going to hear
Right.
From, I mean, you and I would not have
Exactly.
met if we were not in
No.
a networking group together. We wouldn't have
Right.
run in the same circles. We wouldn't have
Yeah.
crashed into each other. So
Yeah.
you have to allow yourself the opportunity to let that dream breathe
Hmm.
a little bit and
Yes.
then start taking action. I don't care. Like, okay, so I knew I wanted to open a salon and I knew I was going to have to learn about hair products and like at least have
Hmm.
some basic knowledge about it.
Right.
So I could watch a billion tutorials on YouTube about that, and it didn't cost me a thing. It was just
Right.
something to breathe life into that dream, to say,
Yeah.
yeah, I may not know all that, but here's some resources, I could figure it out.
Right.
Um,
And so did you make a list? Did you journal about that? When things would come into your mind, the can'ts, right?
yeah.
I can't because, or the excuses. Did you journal them and just, whenever something negative would come up, did you then put positives to it? I know that some people use that method. What was your method of getting past those things that came up? Because I'm sure that they did, even though you may not have, heeded the can't call, but they
Yes.
came up, and how did you address them at the time?
So I have my mantra of I'm confident in my ability to figure things out. So whenever I
Hmm.
would feel that, even the physical sensations of being anxious about
Right.
something and not
Yeah.
understanding or not getting it, I mean, I had to learn a lot
Hmm.
of that kind of stuff. Just
Yeah.
stuff that I don't have personal confidence about. These are
Hmm.
things that I already feel vulnerable learning about. So it's weird
Right.
to have to
Right.
do that. So I would have mantras. When I would feel
Hmm.
it coming, I could, even close my eyes for a second and say to myself, I don't get
Hmm.
it, but I'm confident in my ability to figure it out. And
Yeah.
sometimes that was enough. Sometimes that
Hmm.
was enough to let it go and say, yep, I don't know
Right.
yet. I don't know how
Yeah.
to do this yet, was another
Right.
word that I would say a lot.
Oh,
Yet,
I love
yet.
that. Yep.
Um, and I had to learn a lot of technology stuff that was not easy for me. And that one is really hard, especially because I've leaned
Hmm.
into the creative part of my brain. So, like, sitting down in front of a computer is hard for me to do
Yeah.
now. Um, I would ask for help. I got to the
Hmm.
point where I had my trusted people and I could feel myself getting stuck and feel myself getting anxious. And so
Yeah.
I would try and get unstuck as fast as possible,
Hmm.
because if you let yourself live in that stuck moment of I can't figure this one thing out,
Right.
you could derail all your success just by getting stuck
Yeah.
there. So if I felt myself getting stuck, I just would ask myself, who do I know that can help me get unstuck right now?
Hmm.
And I would
Right.
call that person.
Right. Or how important is it to figure that problem out at the moment that it comes up? I
Right.
think that that's something that also we tend to zero in on. This is a problem. I have to fix it. But, sometimes when you take a step back as a business owner and realize, yeah, it's a problem, but, it's not stopping me from doing X, Y, Z. So
Right.
I can come back to that at a time when I feel a better energy about it, or when I have the resources that can help me. Today, I don't need to worry about that, kind of
Yes.
thing.
Yes.
So, absolutely.
Prioritizing those.
Yeah.
The first 5 years is nothing but crisis and putting out fires and putting up systems
Yeah.
and like figuring things out. So you always feel like you're spinning your wheels,
Right.
in those first few years. But if you can just prioritize those problems, know the ones that are that are going to move that ball forward. The other ones,
Right.
maybe, like you said, maybe they're not even real problems that need to
Hmm.
be solved.
Yeah. Put them aside for the moment.
Yep.
So we talked a lot about work, but what is something outside of that work life? You and I are similar though.
Yeah.
Work is our play. I know I've heard it so many times,
I
but
know. Doesn't it frustrate you when people are like, you work too much? And I'm like, that's like saying
yeah,
you golf too much. Like, you
right.
love doing
Yeah.
it. I want to
I
do
love it.
it.
I do love it. But there is a balance. There is a
Yes.
balance. And I have to say that that is something that, my son played a great video for me on a ball player. I think I'm going to totally get this wrong, but he's an NBA player. I think he's on the Bucks team that's now in the NBA finals, but he was talking about being in the moment, not too focused on the future, not focused on the past, definitely, but being in the moment. And that's something that I set the intention in 2021 to be in the moment. So when I'm with my kids, I'm in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not worried about, I keep a lot of lists because things do go through my mind and I want to make sure that I go back to it. But, I really try to be in the moment because life does go so fast with your kids,
Yeah.
especially that, I have a 22-year-old and well, almost a 23 and 14-year-old that it's like they grow up super fast and I want to capture as many moments as I can. But so aside from work, what is something that you love to do that you feel, you've really accomplished in life being in the moment?
Well, I think, shut down and being
Mhm.
forced to be at home was probably one of the greatest blessings I ever could have been given because I've always been go, go, go. I have a lot of
Yeah.
energy and I like being around people and I like going to, events and stuff like that. So then when I
Mhm.
couldn't do that, um, at first I was panicked, but then after a couple weeks, I started realizing I love being at home.
Yeah.
Like, I love how I feel when I walk in the door, my family's there and the dogs
Mhm.
come running, you know? I
Right.
love that initial feeling of walking in my
Mhm.
home. So,
Yeah.
I really work hard to try and get myself in the mindset before I arrive at home so that I can feel
Mhm.
that moment. That's the first
Right.
couple minutes where I walk in the door. And if I can be present enough to feel that, then
Mhm.
all the joy, all the good stuff. I can be there with my kids and they want to show me something on a video game and I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't wait to see it. Yes, I
Exactly.
can't wait to watch this YouTube video with you or whatever it is that they're doing. But it makes it so I'm not thinking about it. If I can allow
Mhm.
myself to feel that moment of joy when I walk in the door, then I don't
Yeah,
worry about the other stuff. I
that's
can
awesome.
feel it. So that I found like the critical moment for me to get myself from work to life is that
Mhm.
walking in the door. And if I can make
Right.
the most of that, then everything else is easier. So I do that. Our family does spend a lot of time together, like outdoors or playing with the
Mhm.
dogs, hiking, traveling, that kind of stuff. And
Nice.
before I wasn't enjoying it. It
Mhm.
was, we might be on a hike, but I'm making voice notes in my phone of all the stuff that's running through
Right.
my head for work. And I was like, that's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
It makes me anxious because I'm
Mhm.
thinking too far in the future, and I don't even
Mhm.
know if I might get hit by a bus on my way home. So why am I worrying about this right
Right.
now?
Enjoy the hike with the family. The work will still
Yeah,
be there.
it'll be
Absolutely.
there. And I found the more I made space to be off,
Mhm.
the more creative and the more in tune I was when I came back.
That's a really
So
good reminder. Yep.
yeah, so I do that. I
Yeah.
go on. I just went last 2 weeks ago on a silence retreat for 5 days of
Really.
complete silence where I was all alone. Just living in a cabin in the woods. I know it sounds like the most amazing experience because it is. I've been doing that for a couple years now, and I need
That's
that.
awesome.
So then
Mhm.
I come back and it is like I don't know, I a firecracker all over again. I get
That's
re-inspired.
fantastic.
But before I wouldn't even allow myself the time to do that.
Mhm. Yeah. So you go off all by yourself, 5
Yeah,
days, off the grid, don't talk to
off the
anybody.
grid. Yeah. You don't even see another person for 5 days. It's like it's the
Wow.
best.
Wow. I know that's like whoa to me, but awesome.
Yeah. I
So
had to work
tell
up
me
to
about,
it.
yeah, I bet. So quickly before we wrap up today, I want you to share a little bit about that new idea that,
Yeah.
well, it was an idea, but that was birthed out of the shutdown time because you had time
Yeah.
to think and to grow different ideas. So tell me a little bit about that.
So, when you're starting these new ideas, like you think you know what it is, but
Hmm.
it's only like a tiny sliver of the
Right.
whole iceberg, right? Like you can only see the little bit of it.
Hmm.
Poking out of the water. Well, COVID allowed me to, I mean, I knew there was the whole iceberg under there, but it allowed me to actually like write it out
Yeah.
because I kept saying, I feel like I'm building like six businesses all at once. And when I wrote it down, I was building six businesses all at once. That's why I felt that way.
Right. Right.
So, one piece of so I own a salon and boutique, right? And then it turned into a spa salon and boutique. And I always felt like I had this bigger entrepreneurs in general,
Hmm.
not specifically salon entrepreneurs, but this has just happened to be where I get my start.
Right.
So I created the Inspired Foundation to help all women find their spark on what is it that you want to do. If it's not hair, if it's not owning a salon, that's fine. I don't,
Mm.
it doesn't matter what the vehicle is going to be, but let's help you find your spark and
Hmm.
then get you the resources that you need, get you the support that you need to actually run with it and turn it into something. Um,
That's awesome.
it was always on the horizon, but COVID allowed me
Hmm.
to sit down and file all the paperwork that you have to file and do
Yeah,
all the stuff, that you have to do. So that's what I gave myself for my 40th birthday was the Inspired Foundation, something that I
that's
could now
great.
take what I have learned and dump it into other
Hmm.
people and see them run with it. And it's been the best gift
That's
I ever gave
amazing.
myself.
And everybody else around you,
And everybody
and
else.
the
Yep.
people you don't even know yet that are going to
Yep.
come across your path because of that.
Yep.
That's awesome. I want to make sure that people know how to find you.
Yep.
And this is your Instagram handle. So
Yep.
you can find Michelle on Instagram here and connect with her about her mission, about her foundation, any questions. And, one of the things that we both share a passion on is really helping that entrepreneur that just knows there's something for them to do, that budding entrepreneur, that
Yep.
questioning entrepreneur. I was you. I never
Yep.
thought I would be an entrepreneur, but
Yeah.
it was just something I finally heeded the call 18 years ago, and I've never looked back. And,
Mm-hmm.
now I take different paths when I need to, when, the forks in the road present themselves. But that one decision was a benchmark decision in my life, and one that was scary at the time, but totally worth it in the end. And Michelle, I just thank you so much for being with us today, for sharing your wisdom and your passion about helping others succeed. It's so apparent, and it just, you light up with excitement when you talk about it. So
Oh.
thank you so much for being here. And everybody else, I believe that you have the ability to shine. And if you don't believe it, borrow my belief for a while. Until next week, shine on. Bye.
Bye-bye.